I am so grateful that finally we can talk about challenging things. I love this. I like to be challenged, and I like for you to be challenged. We've come a long way in the last couple of months compared to what my channel used to be about. I'm so excited. Even with less people watching now, this channel is becoming real. It's getting real up in here. All right, let's check out this simple question. I've got it a few times this week. I'm going to give you my unprofessional opinion. I made a video called "I support gay rights but morally oppose homosexuality. Is that hypocritical?" Getkel, who's been watching my video for a little bit now, asked this simple question, quote, "What is homosexuality immoral to you?" I guess, or why is homosexuality immoral to you? So just to be clear, when it comes to the gay community, you should run for president, you should adopt children, you should do whatever it is that you want to do and not be discriminated against because you're gay. In the same way, I do not think people of a different religion should be discriminated against, whether they're Muslim, whether they're Hindu, whether they don't even have a religion. I do not believe in discriminating against people. It's that simple. I can morally disagree with someone, yet not want them to be reduced in life in some way because they have a moral view that's different than mine. And I'd want them to think the same thing of me. They could think, you know what? He's Christian and I disagree with his moral code, but I don't want him to be discriminated against either. It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. But ultimately, I still do morally oppose homosexuality, even though I do not oppose the rights of the gay community. And I don't think it should be that big of a paradox. I really don't believe it is. Because ultimately, whether I privately believe that homosexuality is wrong, it doesn't change anything. If just as much I would care for someone who was gay if they needed my help, I would help them. I would be their friend. I would care for them in the same way I would an atheist or someone who's Muslim. It's all the same, different moral perspectives. But who cares what I believe if I'm willing to help them and be their friend and care for them anyway, right? That's the way I see it. But the question is, why do I believe homosexuality is wrong? Well, as you know, I am a Christian, and I'm a Bible-believing Christian. So, the Bible does teach, from the Old Testament to the New Testament, all the way through, that homosexuality is a sin. Specifically, the word that I keep seeing pop up attached with it is that it's unnatural. Now, I'm going to give you an answer that you probably won't find anywhere else on the internet, but that's what's fun about YouTube. You get to see different perspectives that are not so much always the most popular response that you get from somewhere else. So here it is. The reason I believe homosexuality is a sin, is perceived morally wrong, is for this reason. It comes down to, I have never met someone of the gay community that was not carrying some kind of burden. They were wounded in their youth. Have you heard that saying, "Who hurt you?" I want to say that to the LGBTQ community. Who hurt you? No. What I'm not asking you is, since you came out or since you've been struggling, who's hurt you? No. Before that. Fundamentally, psychologically, who hurt you in your youth? Who is the parent who abandoned you? Who is the parent who abused you? Who is the parent who rejected you? And ultimately, you never got professional help, you never got professional counsel, and in your youth, in your childhood, in your teen years, you still to this day as an adult are harboring this resentment to that parent or that person who hurt you. Or you grew up with some kind of situation that prevented you from being perceived like everybody else. And it wasn't that you were gay, it was something beyond that. Maybe it was you were born a certain way, there was some kind of physical condition that you were seen different. Maybe you were always morbidly obese and the opposite gender did not see you as the opposite gender. They just saw you as something else kind of in between and didn't give you that same attention. So then you begin to identify sexualizing your same gender. There is always a backstory. It's just like in comic books. The superhero, he has a backstory. The supervillain has a backstory that explains that. What I have not seen in my lifetime of the many gay people I've met and talked with, you find out there's this backstory. So going back to the question of why is homosexuality a sin, ultimately what I believe is Christianity is a religion of redemption. God wants us to be redeemed. We are born into a broken life, a broken universe. He wants us to be redeemed. So as long as we are harboring this resentment about something a person did to us, and we cannot forgive them, we can't move on. You can be as gay as you want to and become the gayest president ever elected and have the gayest wedding. And what else could you do this gay? There's one more. Oh yeah, adopt 10 kids as a gay. Be the gayest person ever. But yet still you wouldn't have peace because of what happened to you in your youth, and it's a matter of us sorting that out. And I feel the same way as far as Christianity. I think in our culture, let's stop talking about homosexuality for a minute. I think people who suffer from depression, this is another one that's not being dealt with. We want to big pharma, hey, give this person some medicine. Give them medicine. They need medicine. They're just born that way. Give them medicine. But I have found that people who suffer from depression often have unresolved trauma from their youth. They never talked about it with a professional. They never got help. And they still haven't figured out how to deal with that, whether it was abuse or rejection. Same thing with people who are alcoholics, drug addicts. I'm seeing this pattern. And I would say that Christianity is going to teach you to address your issues and get that straight with God. So it's like this. When you look at Jesus in the Bible, what he always wanted was to help people out of their situation. He didn't say change first, right now, this second, and then I'm going to tell you about what I've got. He first acknowledged, here's how you are separated from God. Here's how your lifestyle, your actions have separated you from God. Now stop doing that and come with me. He wants us to be redeemed and restored. What I see when I see the gay community, even beyond how they were mistreated after they came out or they were dealing with it, is before what happened. So I know that sounds maybe non sequitur. Nick, I just asked how homosexuality is a sin. Think of it this way. My perception of Christianity, God wants his children to be redeemed. He wants us to sort out our stuff in our lives so that we're not held back by it, so that we can truly love our neighbor by ourselves. But as long as there's someone out there that we're needing to forgive, as long as we have this broken relationship that is just eating us up inside. And see, that's a pattern I've seen with the gay community. I've seen it with homosexuals. I've seen it with alcoholics. I've seen it with drug addicts. I've seen it with people who suffer from depression. And people aren't giving the response that I'm giving. They get caught up on the surface level, and I'm looking at the fundamental. That is my response to why I think homosexuality is ultimately a sin and is morally opposing to God. Because I've yet to see someone who is gay who, like, yeah, Nick, I didn't have any kind of weird, messed up life there's no one that I need to forgive. There's nothing weird that happened to me. I have peace in my soul. I've just happened to always be attracted to the same gender. I've never met a person who had a simple story like that. And if I did, it'd be the exception to the rule. So ultimately, in my limited knowledge, that's going to be my answer to the question. Is anyone willing to recognize that this is a pattern that exists, not only with people who are gay, but also drug addicts, also alcoholics, and also people who suffer from depression, undealt with trauma? I've made many videos about this, and many people agree. And you're thinking, but how is that morally opposed? Why are you morally opposed to that? Because anytime we continue to live our life in a way that could open up our heart to being free, and we choose not to, we choose to be stuck behind this thing instead, I think that's keeping us from what God wants for us. So you could be the straightest person ever. You could have the straightest wedding and be the straightest president and adopt 10 kids as a straight person, be the straightest person ever. But still, if you have forgiveness issues and you have bitterness and you can't be at peace with those around you and peace in your heart, I think that's a problem too. That's why I do not single out homosexuality as this worser sin, because All of us are born into sin, even if it's simply pride, even if it's gossip, even if it is being obsessed with obtaining wealth, whatever it is, greed. We are all born into sin nature. And it's not there's no part of me that wants to single out gay people. In fact, what I do in these videos is I'm pointing out, I support gay rights. I just oppose homosexuality. I could say that about all the other sins. I could say that about my own sins. Hey, you know what, guys? I morally oppose pride, because we all deal with pride. That's one of the worst sins, in my opinion, is being a prideful person, thinking that you're better than another person. Do I think I'm better than the gay community? Absolutely not. I got all kinds of issues I'm trying to work out over here. So no, I do not think I'm morally superior to anyone. I do not think I'm better than anyone. But I do see that the gay community has been hurt, and they've been discriminated against. And I want to show that I care. Even if I'm morally opposed to what they believe, I still want to help them. And I still want them to have rights and not be discriminated against. And I think that's a pretty simple concept. You don't have to agree with me 100%. But if you take away one thing from what I said that is, it troubles me that so many people of the gay community were already hurt before they even realized that they were gay. And I'm not talking about discrimination after they became gay. Before that, there was some kind of wound. And it happens more often in the gay community that's their backstory. That bothers me, and I have compassion. Okay, now, go ahead and leave your comments right here.